Hello everybody and welcome back. I am Titan9 and we are doing another video on RB Ping, Red Blue Ping. And this was a list that won the Eggman Challenge just yesterday, September 3rd, 2025, if you're watching from the distant future. What was interesting about to me were these full frontal, Sinaju full frontal package added in here. I have seen this popping up in some locals and haven't thought too highly of it. Full frontal really only lets you bring in a couple of Kshatriya. You can't even play him until turn 6. The Sinaju high maneuver doesn't excite me too much. Theoretically, its bonus ability of destroying an enemy shield as well as dealing 2 damage to a unit is a good anti-aggro tech, but similar to Wing Zero, it just feels like it comes down too late to have too much meaningful impact. It could be good if the opponent plays a couple of units that you don't have the ability to rest, and then you can take them out that way before they even get to swing if you're, say, low on shields or something like that. But it obviously did very well at the event. Part of that was because the deck has a good matchup against Wing Zero already, and this Sinaju with the high maneuver can get through the blocker-heavy versions of the deck without too much issue. And it still has a nice aggressive package here. It's only gone down a couple of one-cost units to fit it in. It still has a couple gun cannons in there too. Ankshas are contentious in the red-blue community. I've dropped them. Some people used to be on full 4, but 3 or 2, sometimes none, is useful now. Siege Ploy is interesting, considering the blocker-heavy meta. The deck also has trouble against blue-white, so Sinaju would be helpful there, obviously. Speeding through, so there does seem to be some viability here. Perhaps I was too quick to dismiss it, and so I thought I would play it today. The winner of the challenge was KingNecronKnight. I'm not sure if they would change anything after the event. I haven't really done any digging into this. I just happened to be paying attention and was thinking of doing a red-blue video anyway. I did one earlier on the list I've been liking, this blue-red ping with Sayla. You can get a deeper deck dive on that by clicking on the card above to watch that earlier video. Traditional list, this is sort of where it all began with Eggman himself, I believe. This was the list he played at Gen Con and won with when nobody really knew about this deck yet. You can see it's somewhat similar to that full frontal list from KingNecronKnight. Does have a mid-ranger's plan. You know, Banshee maybe has become the full frontal. Yeah, there's still 2 Banshees though, the Sinaju here. So they're just taking out a little bit of the low end to put in the Sinaju. I like having the quicker low end with a lot more attackers, and then you can play it as an aggro deck if that's what the matchup requires, but you can also go bigger than your aggro opponents and trade with your little units until your bigger units take over the game. That's why I like the Sayla version, the flexibility of it. But this version here shows some promise too. I do like this one over the Eggman list in the current meta, which is very heavy on meteor decks, blue-white, and even in the mirror match, I think the Sinaju is just a really big, fat unit and not easy to ping. So, a lot of promise here. But this deck perhaps has some issue against aggro, and aggro is still everywhere, even if they're not topping all the events because everybody's teching for them. With this deck teching against the bigger matchups, I wanted to see if it still sacrificed something against something like One Year War. This deck is very popular, especially with newer players, because it's a very simple deck to pilot, even if it takes a lot of skill to pilot it well. Very easy deck to pilot. You can stumble into wins just from having a good curve. You can get under most of the decks, and it's a very affordable deck. It's very cheap. Look, 143, pretty cheap compared to this one here at 183. And if you bought the starter decks at MSRP, the deck is basically nothing. The Gelgoogs used to be almost $30. They're down to 10. You don't even have to run all 3 of them. You could run the vanilla Gelgoog and be just fine. But this deck is going to be in a lot of your locals. It's a fun deck to play. It's an easy deck to play. But again, takes a lot of skill to play well, I can say, as an aggro player myself. So I thought this would be an interesting matchup to try it out. And if you want to see some videos on that, you can look at the card above. Okay, and without further ado, let's dive into some games, shall we? Okay, here on Meta Meditations, we do best of 3, just to, any flukiness that happens or weird shield stuff. I just want to make sure the consistency is there with the deck and that it performs well. We also randomly select who starts. Looks like we are going second this time. Though I'd keep this hand if we were going first too. We have a lot of our low-cost units. I love to see that. A gun tank and an Anksha are going to be able to ping units if, say, our Zaku Mariners don't trade in with 2/2s, but rather they have a piloted unit. We could send in a Zaku Mariner and then finish it off with a gun tank. Or if they got value off of the Zaku 2 that makes a 3/1, we could ping that pretty easily with one of these units as well. So we get to go aggro if they get off to a slow start, which is unlikely, and we get to trade favorably or evenly, which is better for us because we have card draw and they don't. And again, I know some deck lists do play Show of Resolve. This one doesn't because I don't. But even if they had that, our card draw is leading us to bigger, more threatening units than theirs is anyway. So I would favor us in a long game, even if they had 2 Show of Resolves over there to our 3. But we're not mulliganing. Sorry for the long-winded opening there. We will play 1 just to have ready to go on the defense. We don't need to burst our EX resource so soon. We're not trying to be the aggro deck. They don't have any units on the first 2 turns. See, this is part of the flukiness. What the wing table doesn't tell me when they've mulliganed, so they could have just mulliganed into a very pilot-heavy hand. Unfortunate for them. No need to hold back this gun tank anymore. And we'll just wait and see what's going on their end. They should have, here we go, some units finally for us. They're going to burst our base. We're going to be able to send in the Zaku Mariner at it. And we're going to get to ping it with an Anksha. We could also just attack it with this Gundam right now. And we would get to repair 2. And then get into Zaku Mariner hits on their shields. Yeah, alright, I like that better. We'll be able to ping something at some point. I don't have to rush out that Anksha. I don't mind using the EX resource here. We're going to kill that. Zaku 2. They're going to get another unit off of it, and it's only a 2/2 though, so nothing super scary. Our units are also beefier now, thanks to the Grandpa Gundam being paired. Alright, and we're pretty in firm command of this game. That's the unfortunate thing about the mulligans sometimes. You just have hands that don't function. They seem to have had a lot of big units here. They should be trying to trade off with us now because they are not in a... They have to take the control here. Our board is completely flooded. We're not even going to worry about this Gelgoog just yet. It won't matter. We're so far ahead on shields. We're just going to be able to finish them off. And we got that Amuro off the burst, which they shouldn't have attacked. And now we get to just finish the game here on our turn 4 with another Gundam and Amuro. Not a very prescriptive game. Yeah, they had a pilot-heavy hand and big Gundams. Not a prescriptive game of how the matchup will usually go. So even if we win the next game, we're going to go to a game 3, because I don't want you to feel cheated. Obviously, these games are easy to win no matter who your opponent is. We saw here, even though we are a little bigger than the Sayla build of the deck, we still were able to play a pretty good aggro game. If this were a blocker-heavy deck, our units would have been able to punch through. Amuro would have been able to tap them down, and Amuro could have finished them off while my little Zakus and gun tanks went after the shields. This was a very good position to be on turn 5 against a blocker deck, regardless of which flavor it is, blue, white, or green-white. So I like this positioning. This deck is feeling good so far, even though this was obviously a sort of a layup game. But let's try again. So we are going first, which slows us down slightly, just a hair. And aggro players theoretically have an advantage if they can play 2 of their level 2 units on turn 1. Though, if they start on turn 1, they have 8 level 1 units, so that usually isn't a big hindrance to them. But I still like our hand against them. Obviously, this full frontal isn't the most exciting, being a level 6 unit, but it will work with this Kshatriya, should we live that long and not draw a better pilot for it. We do have 2 level 2 units that cost 1 we can play. We also have a close combat to take off any pesky units in the process as well, so we're in a pretty good position here. We will not mulligan. I've liked it so far. Some of these decks I play, you have to mulligan a lot, and that's usually not a bad thing, but it is nice when you don't have to mulligan at all and you know what you're getting. I think I'm going to play the 2 units here and save the close combat. They will, at best, they will just break my shield and play 2 more units. Actually, I might be talking myself into the other line now. I kill 1, they don't break my base. They play 2 more units. 1 unit finishes up that base, 2 more attacks get in, plus they might play a link unit there. But I'll get to play 3 units. And trade. No, let's play the 2 units. If there's a difference in these plays, it might be marginal percentages. Let's just hit the board. It's a form of proactivity. This stop will be nice. And they only played 1 unit anyway. I almost don't want to play the gun tank, though I think I will, because the Anksha can finish off that DOP when it attacks on the following turn anyway. I'm going to protect the Jigen. It actually might not matter. I'm going to protect the GM by attacking that into the 1-2 Zaku 1. I'm used to doing that because I run a Jigen included list of this RB deck. It doesn't matter in this one, though. So, silly me. I will play the gun tank, and I get to hold up now both close combat and siege ploy. I obviously can't use them both in the same turn, but depending on what the opponent throws at me, well, I guess it actually won't matter. If they attack me with a rush unit, close combat won't be able to kill it, and I don't have timing to tap it anyway. I could, I guess, tap the DOP. I'm not super excited about that, though. But we'll see. And yeah, and they're playing correctly anyway, attacking with the DOP first. Hey, look, we got a base. And a Razel. Ooh. And I didn't pilot that. Okay, I'm going to kill that Zaku then. While I can. I'm going to play this Anksha to kill that DOP. So this time they did have kind of the start they wanted. Obviously, they probably would have liked to have played a second unit on turn 1. I'm sorry, turn 2. They did play 2 on their turn 1. But it's still pretty quick anyway. And I don't think there's an advantage of holding that siege ploy. We're in pretty firm control of this. I am going to use my Vesalius to give my GM a 3. So that it can clear this EX base. We will then attack with the gun tank. That's the right one. I don't think there's a good reason to hold up the siege ploy here. Siege ploy might end up being dead in this matchup. It'd be good if we were on like no shields and they played a unit and we needed it to be tapped so we could kill it so it couldn't kill us. But we'll just let it hang out in our hand for now. Next turn we're going to get to Marida into Kshatriya and clean up a lot of their board. Especially since they weirdly went to kill our gun tank. I suppose it's not that weird. They have acknowledged that they are in the control role now, which is where they don't want to be, because, look, they only have 2 cards in hand, and we have 5. I do wish I had that Vesalius still, so I could throw my Razel at the Grandpa Gundam instead of what it's going to have to be my Marida and Kshatriya. But we are pretty far ahead, so it's not the end of the world. It's not fun. Oh, no, because with the Kshatriya pings, I can send that in there. Okay, I like that. Kshatriya, and then 1 enemy. We're going to kill off that and kill off that. So we kill off their Zaku 2 Vanilla. We also got to do 1 to the Gundam OG. I'm actually going to get to throw in my Anksha at it, because my Marida's going to attack. Shields. I got a little ahead of myself here. I was excited about being able to kill off this Gundam. What I should have done was attack with the GM first, then attack with the Razel, then attack with the Kshatriya, and finish it off with the Anksha. Finish off the Grandpa Gundam with the Anksha. That way, if a base was flipped over at any point, the Kshatriya could go and pick it off. They only have 3 bases usually in their deck, so it was unlikely, but you should still be playing the correct lines. When this GM flips a base now, I'll be very upset. Okay, well, we got away with it this time, but it doesn't mean you should be making mistakes like I just did. Alright, and then our Anksha finishes off this Grandpa. And we're in a pretty commanding position here. And this is with them getting off to a good start. We haven't gotten to display the full frontal package. I guess I do imagine it would come up less in this matchup, since by the time we get to level 6, which is now, we need to have a firm control of the board already, or we probably have gotten run over. So we can actually just finish the game now, it looks like. We have the siege ploy if we wanted to kill off one of these units, like if we were low on shields and we desperately needed to kill one of these off. We could use it. You see, we could Kshatriya, Amuro on the Kshatriya, tap a unit, ping off one of them. We see, we don't even need the siege ploy then. But there would be instances where it would come up. Like if we didn't have Amuro and we had to put full frontal on the Kshatriya, we still get to deal 2. Siege ploy one of them, Marida would finish off the other, and we'd be alive. Being alive is pretty good, huh? I don't have to worry about that last shield being a base, because their units aren't enough to kill us, even if we gave them a pilot, and they attack with 3 units next turn. Okay, we were looking good there against a pretty decent start from them. That being said, my hand here feels a little clunky. 2 pilots, the siege ploy I'm not crazy about, and a Kshatriya. We could have used this to ping some units, and it paired well with a second Kshatriya, but you know, I'm sure I have hands like this with my Sailor ping deck, though they don't stand out in my mind from when I was testing earlier iterations of that build. So something to keep in mind. It's not a matchup where siege ploy is going to come in super handy unless we're far behind and have to try to catch up. So it's not fair from the small sample size to take that out on siege ploy, but something I'm keeping in mind and noting as I test with this deck. Again, these have been my first 2 games playing with it. We're going to play a third one because that first game was really a non-game. Okay, we are playing second, which means they could have 3 units on board by turn 2. This hand is very slow. Maybe if one of these 3 cards, the 2 Kshatriyas or the second OG Gundam or an Amuro, I could be like, alright, Zaku Mariner, turn 1. Hopefully something turn 2, and then rush in with a OG Gundam turn 3, but I don't even know if I love that, so we're gonna mulligan here. Just, we need something a little faster or lower to the ground. This is definitely not that, though we at least have a base. Oh, no. They didn't have a turn 1 play, at least, so that buys us a little time, but I bet they're going to play 2 units here. No, okay, so they got off a knocker hand either. I'm not in a rush to play this Vesalius, and I will get to play this Gundam next turn, so like they're not going to be able to. I guess theoretically they could rush a Char and kill my base, but they could do that if I play Vesalius anyway, so we might as well just sit back. Let Amuro Gundam take care of that next turn. And they did indeed have the rush Char, so glad we didn't force out that base early for no good reason. Alright, we would have gotten a unit to play though, but you can't know that, so you shouldn't make your choices based on that. And this is not developing very well. I don't have this issue with the Sailor build usually, but again, my sample size here is very small. I would play this a couple times. We're actually going to kill the small Zaku. If they want to kill my Amuro, they will have to attack me directly. I don't want to give them a unit to play on their turn, and they're going to be able to hit a shield no matter which unit I let live. So we get this one for free, this vanilla Zaku 2, because we're going to repair that 2 damage. Next turn, when I likely am going to play this Vesalius, you know, that changes the math. Yep, they want to waste their turn attacking me instead. They only get a Zaku 2 out of the deal. They're going to rush an Amuro, so that's why they wanted to take it out, so I couldn't kill theirs. But we have a Marida now, so that is going to be helpful for us. We're going to get to play it on this baby Kshatriya, still kill it. Sadly, the ping will go to waste, but at least we got that out of the way, and we still get to play the Vesalius. We're going to play the Vesalius first, though, in case the card it gives us changes any mind that we have. So we theoretically could hold our Marida to use on this Kshatriya, but they don't have a wide board now anyway, and it's better just to get this big Gundam off so that we require them to have a link unit next turn to get rid of our Vesalius. Baby Kshatriya into Marida. And we're going to finish off their Gundam. We're going to deal a ping damage to it on attack with Marida, just because we have to. And we'll end the turn. We can definitely play Anksha next turn. We won't have a target for it, which is unfortunate. Oh, they have just flooded the board. Uh-oh. Okay, but at least we can... We're going to take out the Char Zaku 2, because we don't want them to put a pilot on it and get an extra unit out of it. That would be very bad for us. Sadly, we don't have anything good to do with our extra mana. Oh, jeez, that's my MTG brain doing its stuff there. We don't have anything to do with our extra resource this turn, but I think it was still correct to get rid of that big Gundam. Because even if we played the Kshatriya now, we'd only have killed off one unit, which is basically what we're going to do anyway. Plus, that Gundam would still have been on the board. So let's play our Amuro with the OG Gundam. We're going to rest their Zaku 2. That gives a 3-1. We don't want them to have that unit. They are going to be able to take out our base with 2 hits, provided they don't have a link unit. And that Zaku 1 will then get in for a shield. Hopefully we can stabilize, but I'm not liking all of these 6-cost units in my hand. So we have 2 Banshees. I think it was 2 or 3 of the Senajus, plus Full Frontal himself is a level 6 card. So that is a lot of level 6s. I don't love that. Because you will get hands like this, which are fun for nobody. Okay, so we don't have another base to bail us out, but we are going to be able to get rid of 3 units this turn. So let's play our Kshatriya, let's play our Marida. That burst Marida was very useful here. We're going to get rid, we're going to do one here we're going to do one each to the Zaku 2s that get bonuses on attack. Because they are very dangerous if we do find a base. Why are we doing that to one that's not rested? Because when Marida swings in, she's going to be able to kill it, and that's pretty sweet. So she's going to go in, finish off the tapped Zaku 2 that gets a bonus on attack, and that ping is going to finish off its brother. And then Amuro is going to go after this Zaku 2 that's vanilla, and then they're going to leave back a 1-2 attacker, and we will end the turn there because we have nothing we can do with one resource. Our hand has just had to play off curve for a little bit. They have wasted a Char on this Zaku 1, probably afraid of me pinging it to death, which is very likely. See, I would have had double ping here, or even one ping and a close combat. The computer in Wingtable, I know seems odd at first. I am in the Patreon of wingtable.net, which is where we're playing, so I get a stronger AI. It does learn from its mistakes, but it also tries to account for things I would be doing on my turn. And I know this play feels unnatural, especially with solo shields. You just want to be able to kind of rush through. I get that. But the computer might think it's more likely that I have a way to kill off this unit than it is to find a unit that compare with that Char Zaku. I don't know that math, but I believe that is what the computer is thinking. I drew 2 pingers. I might as well play them both and then finish it off with the Marida ping. So let's do that. I don't think we get to maximize our... Oh, we do still have 4. So we can play this Banshee because we are not likely to find another Marida, and it just might be a pure attacker. And the Kshatriya we could hold back until there's a good time to ping units, like if they find their Corsica or something. I think they haven't found one yet, so they they would still get the tall geese first. Alright, let's finish off that Zaku. They might also just want the char in the graveyard so that they can Gelgoog it. Now, they already had one in there, so that's probably not what it is. They theoretically could rush with 2 units on 8 resources next turn. Sometimes, if it's early enough in the game, and they have very few cards in hand, it could be worth risking giving them a pilot by attacking their shields, because they would only be able to attack you with 1 unit, and you can do math and account for that a lot easier. But I think we're going to hold back and try desperately to find a base, though once they have a lot of units on board, we don't have a way to tap them next turn, and we're not going to be able to kill them next turn. So we might be priced into having to do this. If we have a full frontal, we could Senaju and kill off a 2 damage unit, and then Kshatriya is probably going to finish off whatever it is, unless it's an OG Gundam. So let's see. Okay, there is the Corsica base. There's the Gelgoog I was worried about. And they're going to swing on in. Okay, they might have us here. Yes, they do. If we had drawn a pilot, we would have been okay. Because we could put that on the Kshatriya and finish off the tall geese. And the Gelgoog is rested, so we could finish that off with one of our units too. There is not a way through this. We don't have 12 cards in our graveyard to double attack with Banshee. I think we are just dead. We just had these cards clogging up our hand. I suppose we could have played this out last turn. Yeah, okay, so maybe I got a little too ping happy. We could have played out the Senaju next turn, last turn, instead of playing out these 3 smaller units. One of our attacking units could have finished off that 2-3. We would have had Senaju in play, and it could do 2 damage to a not rested unit, because it would be doing battle damage to something in the shield area. So that might have been a corner case I would have been more familiar with had I played the deck more than just the 3 times you've seen today. So that is something viable to keep in mind as going forward. Like, we weren't going to be able to kill him with a flooded board this turn anyway. So there wasn't a benefit to doing that. We had the means of killing that 2-3, and the Gundam would have repaired anyway as well. So that was a misplay on my part. I bet we could have taken over the game afterwards. We'll follow through with the attacks anyway, just to see. I don't think mathematically it will matter, though. But we'll give it a shot. Yeah, the math's not adding up here. We're missing an attacker, a key attacker. And even then, if this bottom one's a base, we wouldn't be able to get through it. Okay. Alright, so we're going to lose here. I will talk as the computer finishes me off. But there was a way to win this game. They are toying with me. That isn't the end of the day, because we would have had him dead on this following turn anyway, I imagine. Senaju would have been able to kill that base, deal 2 damage to one of the Leos. Marida's pings would have killed off another Leo. We still have the other Kshatriya if we draw a pilot on the following turn. So I think that game was winnable, and we missequenced. I've never played with Senaju outside of testing the starter decks when I was getting ready for those release events. So that is something to keep in mind. There are only 3 full frontals in the deck, so it's likely we see them, but not super likely. And that is a fair thing to play around them, just having a static 2 that we can't do anything about. We don't believe there's a lot of bases in this deck. Yeah, just the 4 Vesalius. I know we lost this game, and you could be like, well, you know, you lost one, you won one, and the other one was a non-game, so we're not going to count that. And you could say it's dead even, but if I had sequenced correctly, that game we could have taken. Look, we have them so close on shields, we would have been able to ping. We would have had these pingers still held back in case they played these Leos too. Like, we we didn't have to go as aggro as we did. We could have been a little more controlling. It did feel like we had a strong command of the position there, but the Corsica with the Gelgoog that got to attack that turn, that was a bit of a pain in the butt. It didn't matter that we attacked the shields. I don't think we gave them one, but they don't need a pilot in hand to Gelgoog us, which is one of the nice things about that card. I definitely don't like dying with these 6-cost units in my hand, but we could have used one of them to our advantage on a turn where we went a little overkill on pinging just for the sake of it. There was not a strong advantage to doing that, and that is me perhaps being used to the small ball version of the deck, and again, not having a lot of reps with playing Senaju and keeping that play pattern in mind, especially in the aggro mirror, because he can just rip through enemy units in an aggro mirror. It deals 2 damage. A lot of the things only have 2 toughness or less. Something for me to keep in mind. I think I will try this deck again in the future in paper, maybe for another meta meditation video, but there is a lot of value in this version of the build. I'll also be interested in trying it against the other big decks in the format too. Good work to KingNecronKnight. Congratulations on your win. This is a very interesting brew, and Senaju, I'm sorry for not having faith in you. I think you would have won me this game, so my lack of faith certainly did do me harm in this video. But thank you all for watching, and have a wonderful time at your weeklies.